Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a Squirrel Saturday, and we're going to be covering a super fun, super spicy, ultra weird deck that I am calling a Golden Dragon. And the reason we're calling it a Golden Dragon is named after villain Trenton Mirth. This card has not seen use recently, but I think is very, very valuable, especially oddly enough in rounds 1 and 2. Really good counter against tall cards, which seem to be the flavor du jour in Gwent, with really tall cards and really big removal. Otherwise, really widespread ultra spawns like Firesworn and Elves. But we'll get to that in a minute. Point being, we've got Villain Trenton Mirth in here. We're also taking advantage of some of the changes, namely Ethylene Eggly going down from 11 to 10. I think this makes much more sense. But we can use that boost on a few different places. But my new favorite place to add that is actually Scoia'tael. So obviously in lore, Scoia'tael is the daughter of Villain Trenton Mirth, super cool character. But importantly, Scoia'tael has immunity. So we can boost Scoia'tael as much as we want. The only thing she'll be susceptible to are Geralt Yrden or Geralt Igni. Both cards nobody is really using lately. But she can't be targeted by any other cards, can't be killed off by Onsace or Selkirk, can't get nuked by poisons. She's just immune. And then she only loses that if you activate her order ability, which we have no intention of doing with this deck. Oneiromancy's in here for consistency. Novigradian Justice is one of the best tempo plays in the game with Mahakam Volunteers. Candidly, I think they added that into the game and didn't really realize how well it synergized with that card, but that is what it is. Vrihid Officers are in here, mostly to showcase what the new 4s can do. Personally, I think if I was to change something in this deck, I would probably move these out for a movement card or Dwarven Agitators. Dwarven Agitators can synergize really well with the Mahakam Defenders, but right now I just want to showcase some of these new cards and help you guys understand how they work. We do have Purifies. I ran into a problem with this deck with Ball. I think at the beginning of every season, people are running lots of Ball, lots of Poison, and it just is helpful to have these Dryad's Cresses. It also is nice with Precision Strike. We are running Broccolon Sentinels, so we can get out Dryads when we need them in order to get maximum value from those Purify Vitality boosts. It is a very thin deck in that there is a lot of tutoring and a lot of pretty easy to get the cards you want to hand. That is intentional because we are carrying Skags in here. Skag's playing really well with Ethylene, and then we have Hawker Smugglers, Dunka, and then as well the Circle of Lives for hand boost. And those also synergize with Mahakam Defenders. So hand boost being really, really valuable. And then last but not least, Ike is an incredibly valuable card. So if you have a dragon in your hand, gain Zeal, Order, destroy a unit with 9 or more power. We have 2 dragons, and most importantly, Scoia'tael we aren't going to play till very late. So we almost always will have a dragon in hand with Ike, so he can play down, remove a 9-point card. And the reason why that's so important is because Geralt is the other card, and Geralt costs 10 provisions for 3 points on the board to remove a 9-point unit. Ike is 2 fewer provisions with basically the same play. And then I think the other one here that you can use is Leo Bonart. Obviously can't use him in a Scoia'tael deck, so let me back out of this, and then we will show you some gameplay as soon as I show off this Leo. The Leo Bonart also is 10 provisions. So Ike is probably the best bang for your buck removal card. Obviously 2 fewer provisions than Karothy Heatwave. And I'm just personally morally opposed to using Heatwave. I don't think that it's healthy for the game. I don't think, for me, a big indication for what's healthy for the game is if I'm a new player and I'm playing against a deck many times in my first or second or maybe even third season, am I encouraged to continue playing the game? How much are we just kind of preaching to the choir with our decks, and how much are we being inclusive and encouraging more unity in the game? So that's something to keep in mind. We don't have leader charges here, so we will actually need to tutor out our Broccolon Sentinels themselves, probably lining up the kills with Vrihid Officers, actually. We'll put Volunteers back because we have Novigradian Justice. Ithleen with Skags is fantastic. I like Hawker Smuggler here. Trenton Mirth with Ike is really fantastic. I think maybe the one other card we could really use here would be maybe Dunka. But I'm pretty happy and pretty satisfied with this. I think we might actually use Oniromancy with a second Fryheat Officer. But Lockdown is one of the most annoying decks to kind of go up against. Collar is going to cause us some problems. I think here we'll just start with Ithleen. There's no reason to hold on to her, really. Well, this is going to go to Skags no matter what. And we can kind of just let this Magna Division go up to 9 and then kill it off with Ike or save him for another level. I will say you can run into some problems against Nilfgaard with some of their units. Here I think sorry, I'm just trying to decide between several different moves. I think we can actually use Mahakam Defender in a later round. Let's just wait on him. Although let's try to force out this lock. Then we can get down Hawker Smuggler. If our opponent opts not to use the lock, we can just go ahead and use Fryheat Officer. And then that 3 damage we can erase using our Purify from deck. If our opponent opts to lock it now, that means we can go ahead and get out our Hawker Smuggler. Have a little bit more flexibility. But Master of Disguise is always a card people like to use. Again, I'm honestly pretty happy with the choice there. Let's go ahead and get down our Hawker Smuggler. I'm trying to get out as much of the removal from our opponent's deck as possible. Getting that boost to Figus was not my preferred outcome. Vincent looming large in the back of my mind. I think the biggest thing to note about Lockdown is Lockdown really struggles with points. If you can tempo them out, if you can pressure them, if you can bleed them, Lockdown really struggles. Lockdown likes to play on its terms, and if you can force them onto your ground, they can have a lot of issues. So we'll just have to see what they play here. But Novigradian Justice plays for 5 plus 8, plays for 13 points. So as long as we're within that 13-point realm, we're going to be okay. Here, unlocking the Hawker Smuggler is more valuable to me than the Mahakam Defender. I am concerned about Squirrel, though. So here, I think what we're going to do is just go ahead. We will go ahead and use a Oniromancy. It's not the end of the world if this gets destroyed. It would be inconvenient, but again, not the end of the world. We'll use Dryad's Caress here. We do miss the Vitality, but again, I don't really mind that just because Vincent looms so large. If we can force out the Aristocrats, force out the locks, it frees us up to do a lot more stuff in the future rounds. So this is kind of just seeing how much my opponent is committed to this gameplay. And again, here we're just letting Magna Division go up to 9. Here I think we're okay to get out our tutor. And this Magna Division will go up to 9. So we can go ahead and kill it off with Ike after this next turn. Now, the Fryheat Officers, if you're wondering, so to melee, they damage an enemy by 2. Range, they boost an ally by 2, but then they have a bonded trigger where they do 2 boost and 2 damage if you have another one out on the board. So that's just something to keep in mind here. I don't know if our opponent has another lock, and I will show you one of my cool tricks I like about this deck. but we will showcase that in just a moment. So one of the best things I do like about this deck, we can play Trent Mirth last after our opponent has passed. It takes 2 turns, so we have to let 2 turns expire, but once you play him, it just has to come back to you. You can pass, and then he'll destroy the next highest unit off the board. Obviously here that would be Master of Disguise going up to 8, but if this Hawker Smuggler dies, we should be more than okay. Here, Skags is worth 5 points of damage. The carryover value is meaningful for our opponent here. Brothens is a passive engine as well. But I kind of like keeping him around. I think we might actually here go for Figus. Just because Figus can get removed by our opponent, but then we can also play down Trent Mirth the same row if Figus doesn't get removed. But this also protects our poisoned unit. Forcing our opponent to make suboptimal plays. Again, we're just down by 2 points, so here we could actually just opt for Right-Hit Officer if we wanted. And I didn't want to get out Skags as well because Trent Mirth will kill the highest unit on the board outside of itself. Doesn't matter whether it's your unit or your opponent's unit. So that is something to just kind of keep aware of. And that's why I do like getting Trent Mirth out in earlier rounds. Just because there is so much hand boost to this deck. You don't want him killing off your own great units. With a Neuromancy too, though, you can just put him back into your deck and then tutor him out if you want. Ooh, Oriole with Brothens is a very interesting play. Here, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's a pretty strong trade. And our opponent really has no way of getting through that defender to get to Trent Mirth, really forcing them to take some sad losses here. And this Right-Hit Officer continues to get my boost. I honestly I prefer to play them with Bonded, but if I can get him out of my hand to carry the round, I'm going to do that. If instead I can use Skags, and the other reason for that is because I can get that boost onto Skags, which is really valuable. That Vincent is a very poor choice in my opinion. Here, what I'm actually going to do is hit this Oriole and then pray that the Trent Mirth actually kills the Master of Disguise since it is the passive engine. And it does, so that was a very successful move on our part. The opponent now with 1 more card in hand. I'm just going to hazard a guess that it's a card they don't want to play. If it is, we can still play Skags. We've spent a lot of gold cards, but so have they. Brothens, Invo, all cards our opponent likely didn't want to play here. And here we are going to force them to lose on evens. And I just recommend getting rid of, so when they have nothing in their hand, none of these matters, just go for the tallest unit so you don't have to do math. But it was 12 minus 6 as the base score, gave us 6 points, so that's where we were getting the damage from. But Skags is a great play there, a little bit over the top, to be honest, but we have some really good cards still in our deck. Notably, we still have Neuromancy to hand. The other Right-Hit Officer is not appealing to me. Scoia'tael is much better. And we also have Dunka. We carried that round. And so what I'm actually going to do here, I think we have a lot of really strong plays that we can make. Notably, we can get Dunka out. We do have to worry about Trent Mirth. Trent Mirth could cause us some problems with Scoia'tael. So I think here we go for Dunka. Now we could have just waited. The opponent could have had to go down a card. Trenton Mirth would be the smart play here. Great move by the opponent. But what we're actually going to do here, we'll just go ahead, use this ability. And we have set this up perfectly for ourselves to give Sisthenesis this crazy boost. Nilfgaard doesn't have a great way of getting through to Sisthenesis because she has that immunity. I think we probably have put this game to rest here because the opponent's falling a little bit short, though. Tough choices. I think Sisthenesis is enough. I think our opponent has lost this match, so we're going to go ahead and get her out. Little bit of a risky move. I could have taken the pass here, but I don't want this lockdown deck to draw into something with more value. We did take the win. Again, I just don't play Nilfgaard. Please, stop playing Nilfgaard. They're not good. They're really annoying to play against without having any great value themselves, and so it just drives players away from the game on both ends. I think that CDPR felt justified in not doing a huge faction overhaul because Nilfgaard still had huge play rates, but they just are not strong right now. They had a terrible rework. They have not gotten love. Just stop playing them. Look, I honestly, genuinely really enjoy playing Nilfgaard. But when they're good, and they just are not good right now. Okay, so the biggest thing we want to look for here, we are missing cards that are good in our hands. It is against Nilfgaard, so I do want to keep one Purify on hand. There's nothing really that's getting boosted to hand that I care about. Sisthenesis and Malena are two decent options. I don't love them per se. I don't want to draw into something I hate, though. So we're going to finish redrawing here. And I think just to get things started, we're going to go ahead and get out a Hawker Smuggler. And we can go ahead and boost it. It doesn't have status, so it could still get locked. But at least it can't get totally removed all at once. And we didn't even get out our Sentinels last game. Our opponent making a very poor choice here. We knock off the shield with one, and then we can go ahead and use the rest of these, and this is how you can use the Sentinels. Great tempo play for us. I'm not going to complain. We'll save our other tempo play for next round. And I think right now we're just going to go ahead and get out our other Hawker Smuggler and just start passing boosts to our hand like crazy. Each one of these representing 1 point to our hand that we can play this round and a future round. It doesn't really matter. The All God carryover got a lot of love last season. I don't find him to be as valuable. Like a Hawker Smuggler plays out for 2 rounds and it's caught up to its provision cost, but it's not a gold, so you can carry 2 of them. They're nice lock absorbers. I mean, All God, you get to use them all at once, but Hawker Smuggler, we can start to thin down our hand and target those boosts to very specific characters. Here, our question now is, okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to play to get out of this round without taking a big hit? I think, honestly, the best thing we can do here, I'd prefer to save Ithleen for our good friend Sheldon Skaggs. Let's go ahead here and get down Treant Boar. And then we can get out Malena. Whew, a lot of anxiety there. Our opponent could use a 5-point removal tool, namely Assassination. Tourney Joust, getting rid of this Hawker Smuggler is a decent choice, but not amazing. Here we're going to go ahead and get out Malena and just continue taking away here. Recognizing that our opponent is really struggling to put points on the board. And now for Nilfgaard, kind of the best option they have is Artorias. So had they not passed, I probably would have called their bluff and passed myself. But we got 4 boosts onto Scoia'tael, 2 onto Ike, which is meh. But he's only a 5-point card, so that's really not the worst thing in the world. Lots of hand boost, but not a card that we want to get boosted. Let's still see if we can draw into one. I would like maybe both right-hit officers if we could get them together. But instead we brick into Mahakam Volunteers, so that's quite unfortunate. Just trying to decide here how much we care about this round. I think we're going to go ahead and just play out some cards we don't care about. I prefer the other tempo of this play, but let's just go ahead and get this down. We'll get out the other volunteers down to 7, and then we'll probably peter out of this round. Try to see if we can't get something out of our opponent's hand. Magni Division. We did get a leader charge used, so that works for us. And I really actually don't mind using Ithleen in future rounds, purely because she is still 5 points down on the board. The opponent is likely going to play out, I'm guessing, Artorias with Hounds or Artorias with Imperial Brigade. Both great tutors, good thinning plays. I just noticed that Ciri has like 3 flowers in her hair with the mask, so that's kind of cool add-on they've added there. So yeah, we did see Imperial Brigade, not with Artorias though, so we might still see Hunting Pack come out later on. Hunting Pack could have already been played though because of that shield. I think our opponent just trying to get rid of Dythwins. So Villain Trentonworth is a little bit of a gamble here. We will be playing a 6 down with Figus, but I think with 2 more leader charges in tow, we likely will find value there. That being the case, we probably don't need that Circle of Life. The one card we're still looking for here is Skags. Dunka we can play out with Oneiromancy. So may the Force be with us. We don't get him. But I think we will be playing out Dunka almost certainly with Oneiromancy. We'll go ahead and get down Figus and then wipe off this Magna Division with Villain Trentonworth, as they will be going up to 7 almost certainly. It's possible our opponent could play a taller card, but we can almost certainly remove it. This is a little bit of a gamble, but it's not the end of the world for us to lose that. The one thing we will need to worry about is what we do if our opponent decides to play Defender. Like I said before, if I was to make a change to this deck, I'd get rid of right-head officers and add in the Dragoons, which are now only 4 provisions, which give you row movement for yourself and against your opponent. Assassination won't kill Trentonworth now because he is at 6 points. And this Rowdy Dwarf is next door to him. So Rowdy Dwarf now coming in clutch against Assassination. And notably, this takes at the end of the turn. So if they lock the unit, we can just go ahead and purify him. Bribery, giving our opponent a way to look into our hand. Ithleen Igley playing very poorly. No hand boost available there, so not 100% sure what our opponent was going for. Here we're going to go ahead and get out Dunka. I'd like one of these boosts to hit Mahakam Defender. Let's see if we can get lucky. Still more value onto Scoia'tael. Something I'm not going to complain about. But here you see Trentonworth finding 13 points of value, 6 points himself, 7 points in kill. Not too sad about that. Our only problem now is if our opponent opts to get something down like... let's see. I think probably our biggest fear would be a Cahir. So we should maybe start getting our Vrihid officers working. It also will thin down our hand more. But I think we'll here go for Ithleen since our opponent already knows we have it. And we'll get this on to Mahakam Defender. The good thing about hand boost is that Cahir really doesn't have that much counter to hand boost because Cahir is only boosting for how much the units on the board are getting boosted. We might see an assassination come down against Dunka here. No, Royal Decree. Not really sure what our opponent's going for here. But yeah, Cahir just really going to fall pretty flat, to be honest. We are going to lose some value with this Ike. Again, row movement is a thing I think this deck has been missing. Wouldn't surprise me to see some other cards come down. Okay, let's focus here on killing units, not boosting, because every time we boost, Cahir shares that same boost. This Dryad's Caress will come to bite us in the butt a little bit. This is a pretty fun deck to play. Again, here we needed row movement in this deck. It doesn't have the row movement, so we're unable to get to these Cahirs. Otherwise, that would be what I would be focusing on. Another thing you could do is just add in, especially if this was like a Nilfgaard deck where you wanted to use Ike with Trenton Mirth, you could add in some boosting units that like Nilfgaardian Knights, where we could target boost onto Fifion and then kill him off that way. All of this being the case, I think we're going to just wait a little while longer here to play some of those other cards. Let's go ahead and get out. Let's just go ahead and get out Sisthenesis for now. The reason we're doing that is because she doesn't involve any boost. Our opponent is currently at optimal boost mount right now with 2 Cahirs and us not having a way of getting through to them. Here, I think the target is a bribery, and our opponent will be able to replay a bribery, so that's a great play. We are forced to boost a card no matter what. The officer represents 2 boost. Dryad's Crest is 3 plus the vitality. Mahakam Defender is just 1. So I think for right now, we'll go ahead. I think we'll get out the Mahakam Defender. There's still a better than 0 chance that we get something with Ike. Oh, it's Royal Decree. I apologize. I forgot that Royal Decree was earlier. Now Shere Khan coming to this row. Great play. Again, if we had row movement. Oh, the things we could do. Poison, very effective. It does force out our Caress, which gives these Cahirs some really great boosts. It's a pretty late assassination there. And here I think we'll go for Ike since we don't have something else in hand. But I think unfortunately the Letho Cahir play just got a little bit away from us. So this is a deck that could work for you. It is pretty great so long as your opponent isn't running row movement. We probably should have pressured a little bit more in the down round against Nilfgaard as well. That was certainly a mistake of mine. Here we'll just go ahead and hit the Ithleen and boost our Rally Dwarf. Doesn't really matter. Our opponent getting boosted by 4 for that. And we don't have anybody to attack with Ike, so we kind of just fall flat. But I think you got to see a couple of different ways this deck could be played. I'm going to make this change, and then we'll go back in and have one more try. Like I said, I think the biggest problem here was just missing that row movement. It does have Milena in it, which we should have thought about this deck having those other row-locked units. But we're going to go ahead and strip out Vrihedd officers. Find that trying to find them is difficult. Trained Hawks are also a good option, but the new Vrihedd Dragoons are just so cheap at only 4 provisions. I think they give us kind of maximum flexibility. It also can move your own units, so if for some reason our Figgis gets moved off, we can go ahead and move him back. So let's go ahead. We'll go in for one last game. This is kind of a longer video than I'm normally making, but this is seriously one of my more favorite decks I've been playing in the last few weeks. Just a lot of fun, really different, has some good spiciness to it with Trent Mirth and Sesthenesis, and Ike being kind of a really good bargain character. And had we been able to move that Fifion off, I think you saw there we could have taken that match by killing one of those Cahirs. And had we had both movements, or even saved Milena for that round, we could have just moved the Cahirs off melee row. But choices were made. All right, here we put Brocklon Sentinels back into our deck, hoping not to get terrible draws again. I do like these Circle of Lives. We have Milena here, so I don't feel a strong need to keep 2 Dragoons. Did get some somewhat suboptimal draws here. Honestly, I think our best choice, we are carrying Trenton Mirth, so it does cause some issues, for lack of a better term. But I think if we we have a Purify. Let's go ahead and get out Mahakam Defender, and we'll use Trenton Mirth for next round. Hidden Cache does carry poisons, so it is something we have to stay aware of. Which one is that?
Do something, anything. Watch closely. You might just learn something.
Okay, that is watch this.
Run while you're still able.
Run while you're still able. That's going to go ahead and pull out Redanian. Now here we kind of have to decide how much we care about saving it. You know something we can do here? Figgis is basically just for those, as well as the row boosts. Hidden Cache does suffer with removal. They don't have as much removal as they might like. So here, actually thinking Figgis might just buy us just the right amount of time. And if our opponent opts to use, something like Philippa, that is honestly a pretty good trade. I am filming this on Twitch. If you have not joined Twitch, please drop by, say hello. We do all kinds of spicy fun, and I think you guys would really enjoy it. But hello to all of you who are joining me. As always, Slav Squirrel joining me most often on Twitch. Love having you around. As I said, this was kind of anticipated. It's a trade I honestly find pretty valuable here. We need to ping down Philippa 1. And I'm doing this, I'll explain in just a second. I'm kind of low on time here. We're going to ping down the armor, that way we can get through it. But then here we can play the Sentinels. This is good tutoring, also good thinning, and it also gets us additional boost, which I am not going to complain about. So there we get the Purify plus the Vitality, plus we remove a unit. We get this Figus is now more vulnerable. We can move him off with Vrihid Dragoon if we want to. But if we can do 2 damage with Treant Boar, the next round we can polish him off with Circle of Life. And bing bada boom, this Figus is now turned into boosting for us. I don't really care to go super long this round though, as we don't have many of those boosting units that we really usually need. Our opponent here is still needing to make a 10-point play. I think I would rather wait to use these on a different round. I will use Circle of Life here on Flying Redanian. It will upset the cadence for my opponent. And we're going to target this on Mahakam Defender. But we still have this ticking engine here going up 2 points every turn for the next 2 turns, so I feel fairly confident. Ransackers is a card people have enjoyed using. I'm not a huge fan of them. I find it's a slow way to generate coins, but you know, you do what you want. Yeah, we just don't have a great way of dealing with Von Hurst this round, so we're just going to go ahead and take the pass here. Again, still generating some passive points. Our opponent needing to put up 9 points outside of the Von Hurst play with the normal ticking engine. They can get 2 from spending 2 coins onto these Firesworn Zealots, so they would need an additional 7 points, but maintain a 2-coin horde in order to get those 2 coins to get that 2-point Zealot as well. So, and if you have played as Hidden Cache, you know that tempo is something that the deck often can lack with. Here we've also forced the trade with the Philippa. Again, in my mind, suboptimal play. Although defenders are nice and they are handy, protecting Von Hurst is an okay move, but you really need more synergy with him. Otherwise, he's just a 2-point engine. Mutated Hound might just be enough points for them. I think it does get them 8. They do need to convert those units, and that's going to get them right up there. Just enough points over the edge. But we are, again, for those of you just joining on Twitch, I'm just finishing up a video for tomorrow. It is Friday today, but if you're watching this YouTube, it is a Squirrel Saturday. This is much better. I'm much more happy. I'm honestly not going to mess around with my draws because I don't want to break into something. And I kind of like what I have, to be honest. We'll see how much the opponent really wants to try to force our hand here. Alright, Passiflora Peaches are a decent ticking engine. I'm guessing I just wanted to throw something down to generate the coins. That being the case, I think we'll just, I'll see your engine and raise it by 1. Mahakam Defender is basically coming in the same, and I don't mind getting them out. If they want to remove him, that's fine. Then we can just drop down Trent and Mirth after they pass and erase the Peaches. So, but again, I really have enjoyed this deck. I really recommend it. Okay, so let's look and see what we really want to get. I would like to see these 3 cards. And while I would like the thinning of getting out the Mahakam Volunteers, I don't mind having one of them. But we do have Oneiromancy. It does come back, and we can play 1 more card. So we're going to use Oneiromancy here to get out a Hawker Smuggler, as it's going to carry over 2 points. 1 here, and then 1 after we pass. So that works really well for us. Our Oneiromancy can't get targeted by a Squirrel or anything else. We will need to be a little bit cautious of tall units, as Trent and Mirth, again, will kill the highest unit regardless if it's mine or my opponent's. We need this Mahakam Volunteer back in the deck. I'm happy with Ike. I'm a little bit terrified to draw something else. Would have been nice to get Skags, but I think here we can just go ahead and play out Systhenesis. I am feeling like a gambler today, so let's do it. Boom. I'm very, very happy. Ike now gets Zeal. We can play out the Trent Mirth a little bit earlier than we normally would have otherwise. And then I think here the best play from our Neomancy is going to be for the Hawker Smuggler. So we're going to get that started first. Novigrad doesn't really, our Syndicate doesn't really run locks. So I think we're okay here to just go ahead and take some time, develop these cards. So the poison is what I'd be more worried about, or just regular removal. So we'll let our opponent make choices. Seeing the hidden cache come down, though, I'm thinking that they're going to avoid some of those damage cards. Would have been nice maybe to get Dunka out purely for the Treant Boar play. But here I think we're just going to kind of let our opponent make poor choices and then deal with them later. Here, let's get down Dunka. We'll start feeding some hand boost, but it also gives us an ability to get through both of these defenders. Treant Boar getting all the boosts. Just coming out to be a nice thick boy. We don't really have Heat Wave because we are morally opposed to it. So Passiflora is going to cause some problems with that. The one problem we do have here with Boar is it is, like I just said, a nice thick boy. And we don't want it to get smashed by Trent Mirth. But I am confident that the opponent will try to do something with it. So let's just go ahead and get it out. I'm anticipating a poison or something of the like against the Boar. Otherwise, we'll just let them start to develop some of their engines. Like I said, there's the poison. Not really all that surprising to me, to be honest. We'll go ahead and use Milena. Let's just go ahead and get rid of these. Actually, you know what we can do? We do miss some hand boost here, but I actually like this play a little bit more. Now our opponent can't use the second part of that poison. That will thin down the number of poisons a little bit, which I think gives us some better flexibility. Sea Jackal is an excellent option for us to target with Trent Mirth, so we'll just let that get bulked up a little bit. We'll start picking away at this Morale just in case our opponent wants to steal or do something crazy weird. We'll keep moving it back. Yeah, we want one of these to go to 9, and the other one to go to 9 as well. Then we can put down our Trent Mirth. At this point, though, I think probably Novigradian Justice or Ithleen make the most sense. Ithleen is almost certainly going to be targeting Systhenesis, so I'm not in a hurry to get her played out. Here, taking full advantage of our tempo. And I think adding in this row movement was the better choice. We just have so much more flexibility with our own cards. It also gives us an additional way to get some movement onto Boar. Here we see Sea Jackal just getting nice and juicy. We don't mind. We don't mind whatsoever. Here, actually, what I think I'm going to do, since these peaches are going to go up to 9 anyway, we're going to just use Ike here to get rid of the Spender. The Spender does give them some flexibility that I don't want them to continue to have. And then these peaches only go up by 1 every turn, so we're going to just start hacking away at them, see if we can't get rid of them before they get too big. Again, still pleased here. A lot of these boosts going on to Systhenesis. And we can go ahead and get out Trent Mirth now. Our opponent does need to bulk up these street urchins if they don't want them to die right away. And they will probably need that passive engine working. There aren't that many spenders in the hidden cache deck, to be honest. So it is something our opponent does need to be worried about. Here, we're just going to be a little bit more patient with this Trent Mirth. We don't need it yet. I want to see our opponent spend all the removal they have. Again, locks, a lock or a similar, a lock or a poison might be things I'd be worried about. We're going to go ahead and get rid of the street urchin. There aren't any other spenders. We just don't want our opponent being able to dump all those coins as a final play. Here, we might see Saul overtake Passiflora Peaches, actually. Let's just go ahead and get down Sisthenesis. Oh my gosh, that was a terrible play. I don't know what I was thinking. Oh my gosh, why did I do that? Oh no! What have I done? Alright, we're just going to play Trenton Mirth this final play. Oh no! I always do this when I'm streaming and recording at the same time. It is very fun. I love the interaction. It's always a blast up in here, but I always make stupid choices. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. Alright. Let's just move back this Peaches just to mess with his mind, I guess. But we'll play Trent Mirth last, but that was huge misplay from me. We otherwise would have erased this Passiflora Peaches. I was worried about playing around removal our opponent very clearly doesn't have. I think we might see a poison come onto this boar as final play. Yeah, huge misplay from us. Alright, let's just go ahead here and we'll just ping down the street urchin. We'll go ahead and move it back. And we'll take the pass. So, obviously the win here was actually very easy for us. Had we used this Trenton Mirth earlier, I would have erased that Passiflora Peach. But here we're able to just play him. This is maybe a way to show you what to do if you get into a bind and you have the highest unit and you just can't get away from it. You're just going to hold on to Trenton Mirth and pass. It will never come back to you so long as your opponent doesn't have 2 plays, and you'll be all right. So here we get the win because our opponent is also a moron and doesn't use the spend on the blind eyes. So, I mean, I would have had to count that out. He would have lost some value on Saul. So he would have gone down 2 fewer points. But I think he could have tied that by spending on those street urchins. But we'll take the win. Honestly, we deserved it. We just made stupid choices. Although that Karathi Heatwave would have killed the Trenton Mirth, I guess. So that is, as they say, what it is. But thank you guys so much for joining. Good luck on the path. Always please join on Twitch after I record these videos. I always play more games and do more spiciness. This is what we're going to be doing right after this. But for all of you on YouTube, thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, etc. Until next time, good luck on the path. Get out there and keep on gwenting.